Welcome to the lesson, What are Forces? You'll explore how forces can change motion. The vocabulary words for this lesson are force, gravity, friction, balanced forces, and unbalanced forces. Click each. Your body feels weightless as the roller coaster plunges downward at a speed of nearly 100 miles per hour. Just when you think you are going to crash, the roller coaster loops back up and your body feels heavier than normal. What forces act on the roller coaster? Let's find out. Without forces, nothing on Earth would move. We experience forces in everyday life. Pushes and pulls are both forces. Click these images to find out more about spring scales. This spring scale has an object hooked to it. When you hold it from the top, the arrow represents the size of the force on the object, usually the object's weight. Whether you push a lawnmower, swing a bat and hit a ball, or pull open a door, you are using forces. These forces vary in strength and can be measured by using a spring scale. Have you ever seen a spring scale used at a market? Perhaps you have used one like this in science class. A spring scale used in science class reads force in newtons, a unit of measure named after Sir Isaac Newton. If you hold the scale by its top handle with nothing attached at the bottom, it is calibrated to read 0. The 5 at the bottom represents a weight of 5 newtons. Did you know that you are in continual motion? Your heart beats and your lungs breathe oxygen in and carbon dioxide out. You move and interact with objects all around you. Everything that moves involves a force. Forces can cause an object at rest to move, or a moving object to speed up, slow down, change direction, or stop. Click to see how forces act on this race car. You now turn the car as you come to that corner. When you turn a corner with the car, you use force to change direction. Changes of speed and direction are forms of acceleration. You finally arrived at the finish line. You use force to make the race car come to a stop. It takes even less force to stop now because you have very little fuel. The more mass an object has, the more force it takes to cause the same change in motion. So now that your car is lighter, it requires less force. Imagine when you get older, you become a race car driver and are at a track. When you start the race, you are using force to cause an object at rest to move. Now you need to push the car harder. The greater force from the engine causes it to speed up. A greater force causes an object's motion to change more quickly. Suddenly, you see a turn ahead and you need to slow the car. You use a mild braking force to slow it down. Let go of an apple and it doesn't float, but it falls to the ground. You may be familiar with the story that Sir Isaac Newton started thinking about gravity when he watched an apple fall from a tree. Both gravity and friction are the two most noticeable forces in our everyday lives. Click these images and find out more about these forces. Whoosh! Even when you slide down a slippery, snowy hill on a sled, there is still friction between the sled runners and the snow. The friction opposes or works against the force of gravity pulling the sled downhill. Friction is a force that opposes motion and works against an object rolling across a surface. When a ball rolls across a carpet, friction eventually slows down and stops the ball. It is impossible, but if gravity were to disappear, you and all other objects would float off Earth into space. Gravity is the force of attraction between two objects. It is what holds you to the ground and the moon in its orbit around Earth. The mass of the objects and their distance from one another determines the strength of their gravitational attraction. When you jump up in the air, can you stay there? No, it's impossible. The Earth's gravitational force is so strong it pulls you back down to the ground. You feel gravity all the time as your weight. Rub your hands together. What happens? Friction causes your hands to heat up. Friction is a force that opposes motion and happens when two objects are in contact with each other. If you have ever been in a tug-of-war, you know the losing side will fall forward, perhaps in a large mud puddle. Sometimes opponents don't move either way. At other times, one side moves forward and the other side moves back. Click the play button to begin. Sometimes opponents in a tug-of-war are at a complete standstill. Both ends pull with equal strength and neither side moves. This is an example of balanced forces. Watch out! When one team pulls to the left with more force, the opposite side is also pulled to the left. This is an example of unbalanced forces. If both teams are moving the same direction and they don't speed up, slow down, or change direction, the forces are also balanced. This usually means one team is winning easily. Let's see if you can define these forces. Drag the name of the force to its definition. Forces that produce no change in the motion of an object. That's correct! You have a good understanding of forces and how to define them. Great work! Which of these is an example of balanced forces? Click your answer. You've got it! Balanced forces do not cause a change in motion, like these swimmers waiting to race. That was great work! Let's take a minute to recall what we've learned about forces. Without forces, nothing would move. A force is a push or a pull. What holds us to the ground and keeps the moon in its orbit around Earth? Gravity. Gravity is the force of attraction between two objects. Friction is a force that opposes motion. It happens when two objects are in contact with each other. Unbalanced forces cause an object's motion to change. The greater the force, the faster the object speeds up. It takes more force to speed up a large mass to the same speed as a small mass. Balanced forces do not cause a change in the motion of an object, just like when opponents in a tug-of-war are at a complete standstill. Both ends pull with equal strength and neither side moves. Now that you've finished this lesson, click the menu button to exit.